Well, it's still a morning at NTV, and today about our Kickstarter, there is a lot of change that is coming with regards to public, should I call it, public service management. Now, last week, the Ministry of Public Service held a senior management retreat under the theme Transforming Public Service. The two-day meeting came up with new targets in improving the civil service. To help us shape with us what was decided and what needs to be done to improve this, we have the Minister of Public Service, Honorable Wilson Muruli Mukasa. Welcome to Morning at NTV, Honorable.
Thank you.
Well, me as Andrew, I grew up looking at public service, and my father told me, if you ever want to work in government, your internship placement will determine where you're going to go. So he said, if you're going to go to private sector, you'll end up in private sector, and here I am. And if you're going to go to public sector, you will end up there. But on quote, he said that public service does not have enough spaces for every Ugandan. So it's only a few that will go through the amplitude test and all that would actually be there. So those who are there, they're serving a very big call at that time. Work supersedes what they need to do. Fast forward, what triggered this retreat?
Well, what triggered the retreat was, first of all, I think it's also mandatory that we have this retreat before the new financial year has gone very far. Secondly, we are beginning the National Development Plan 3. Okay. It was adopted just a few months back. And in that plan, there are objectives. First of all, it's really, sets out the vision of the country in the next 5 years. And therefore, we have to sit down and see what we are going to do falls in line with what
the vision.
The vision is and what the National Development Plan proposes. So more or less, it's really a strategic program. But also, we wanted also to evaluate our performance in the last 5 years. We're transitioning from National Development Plan 2 to 3. We want to see how far we have performed. To what extent did we reach the targets of National Development Plan 2? So that triggered the retreat, the senior management retreat last week.
Well, if I could go back in 2011, then the Prime Minister, Honorable Patrick Amama Mbabazi, when he was giving a speech before his predecessor then, the late Apollon Sibambi, he had suggested something that all civil servants needed to have an annual contract. That would be assessed, because this was something that he came from the school of thought that people would put their coats on their hangers in coats, and they go for lunch and they come back tomorrow and they don't come back. So he said this should be something that should be done. And now I'm seeing you're having a retreat after 5 years. Shouldn't we adopt what the former Prime Minister then had suggested?
Well, yes, that has been adopted already.
Okay.
Yes, we have contracts for the U1, the top echelon of the public service, U1, U2. We have rolled it down into performance contracts for lower grades, U3. You have, for instance, head teachers, deputies, you have cows, and then we are rolling it down for further grades. So that has started. It's being done in phases, but ultimately
it will come through.
It will come through, yes.
Wow, very intriguing there.
Yes, now that's one way of improving, you know, the quality and the quantity of the public servant.
You know, there was one day I visited a public office, to be very blunt with you, and the receptionist, her attitude, the way she gave, the way she was talking to me, I had to ask a question. I said, have you ever worked in private sector? She said, no. This is good. I felt at peace. So, Honorable, what are the conclusions of your latest retreat on improving public service?
Well, the conclusions are that, one, we must promote transformational leadership.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
In whatever we are doing, we must first of all transform, and then we, the leaders themselves, must be able to steer
the
their
transformation.
Friends, their colleagues, and to steer the transformation. Two, whatever we do, whatever service we give wherever we are, it must lead ultimately into outcomes.
Okay.
And those outcomes should be in line with NDP3, but also ultimately into the Vision 2040.
Okay. They must
Yes.
plug through.
Yeah, they must plan through Vision 2040, i.e. the transformation of the entire Ugandan community from one stage
To another
to another. At least just briefly put, to a middle income status.
Okay.
Yes. So whatever we do,
has to
whatever
reach that
angle,
goal.
it must reach that goal. Yes.
Wow.
And before we come to this, then we have to look at the manpower. We have to look at, first of all, the mandate, really, of our ministry, and then the mandate of our sector. We are mandated to make sure that we have good, competent, quality manpower. It must serve conscientiously and responsively, but also we must retain it. Then we look at the structures or the systems which we use.
Okay.
Are they okay? Are they helping in quick service delivery, or are they cumbersome and they're acting as a deterrent? And then we look at other resources as well, so that we have, we concentrate on the human capital, other resources, we look at the structures we're going to use, and then the processes which we use. These must be looked at from time to time to ensure that when everything is in concert, then we have good citizen-centered service to the public, and whatever we do, the aggregate of all our little activities which we do will ultimately lead to Vision 2040.
Okay.
To the community having moved from one stage to the other.
Wow. When you talk about having systems that are working, I need to commend two government entities that I'm personally impressed with. That is the Ministry of Lands. I can now go on their portal and I get to know what block and what and who is the owner of that land title. That is one thing I really need to commend. Then the other thing is the Ministry of Transport. That now I can pay everything I need to pay for with regards to my my driving permit and all that, and I check the registration online, and I can pay, and I just go put in my biometrics, and I get my card. So
yeah, the next ministry you should commend is public service. Yes, because we have worked out what we call Service Uganda centers. These ones are places where you can go and access all the services you need, especially the most frequently sought after services. You can access them even here at our headquarters in Wandiga. So that you save time, you don't have to run up and down, and you also save money, and you go home satisfied.
Honorable, when you talk about public service, for a common man, Omuntu says a Ugandan, they feel there is a lot of, should I call it, poor service, if I can dab it that way, for lack of a better word. And we want to know what realistically needs to be done. How do we shift the mindset of the citizens from someone saying that, I'll give you an example with regards to health. If someone is going to have a baby and they ask them, where are you going to have your baby from? When they tell them, like,
You're finished.
now, that sigh they make, they're not sure if they should possibly go there, especially with regards to health. Today in the Daily Monitor, we have a story of mothers in Aquania. They're paying 5,000 Ugandan shillings bed fee, but again, they're not attended to by the midwives. So what could be the real problem of those, should I call them, below the pyramid service civil servants, so that they can actually come to the apex of what you're saying?
Well, there are a number of things that could be the problem, and it's a combination of them.
Absolutely.
One is the motivation aspect. And our public servants, there are many things really that motivate workers, but the most important one, I think, is the kind of pay, the take-home package that one goes with. The motivation is not yet up to that level.
Okay.
Yes. The other one is, of course, the resources which we need to cater to handle some of the grants, like the case you've quoted of Pania. Yes. Health service, yes, you may need a few little things like gloves and so on, and they're in short supply. So that acts also to demotivate the person giving the service. Then the other one, which is actually even more serious, is the attitude, the mental setup of the person providing the service. It needs a little bit of orientation so that we are now looking and at the same page and reading the same script. So, as I said, it's a combination of these.
Yeah, different nuggets.
Yes.
Honorable, doesn't that reflect that we need refresher courses for some people?
Yes, we do.
Now, I'll give you an example.
And we have actually embarked on that. During the last 5 years, we have carried out a number of refresher courses in our civil service college.
Okay.
And we are continuing.
Oh.
Yes.
That is nice. There is this perception when, now me, I'm speaking as a lay Ugandan, when you go to some offices and you try to demand for the service, they'll give you an attitude. They say, even if you report to God, you go report to God, nothing is going to change. Is it an attitude or the attitude shift we need to just bring these people this side? Or should we just wait for that annual contractor that could possibly come back? And we have a portal where we can give feedback as citizens about how we're treated about particular services.
Oh, yes, yes. Now, with the help of the ICT ministry, it's possible. We have set up platforms for that kind of thing. And we have also made sure that each agency, each department has what is called client charters. A charter really is a charter, a kind of agreement that you make between yourself and the
service provider.
The service provider and also the person receiving the service, who in this case is really our master, that is the common man, the ordinary person, the citizen. So you say, during this financial year or the next 5 years, there's this strategic plan. I'm going to carry out these activities and I'll do them this way. And I expect this kind of result. Now, one of the things that is required of the citizens through this charter is that the citizen has the right to demand for accountability.
Perfect.
Yes. And anyone who comes up and says, oh, well, even if you go to God, even if...
no one is going to fire me.
Yeah, they used to say, oh, they work with a papa simu, whatever. No.
Do what you want.
No. Those, I think, are rare species.
Okay.
Yes, and their time is slowly ebbing. Their luck is slowly ebbing.
Nice.
And they'll have to go away. So accountability is important. Yes. And then we have now instituted regular inspections. We have put
unannounced.
Yes, unannounced.
Perfect.
We have put in service delivery standards. So you say, okay, I'm going to provide this service, but what is the standard? What's the yardstick?
Okay.
And then we go and say, yes, you've done this, yeah, you have failed here, you have scored 30%, and so on. Then what are the reasons? So
there are scorecards in every part.
Yes, scorecards. And then we say, okay, unlike where the difference comes in between public service and the private sector, that we may not give summary dismissals.
Oh, yes.
You see, that's where maybe the other fellow has some right to say, oh, even if you do that. Because, yes, our process, our procedure is fairly lengthy. You know, it's been democratized a bit.
So do we have some bit of reprimanding these people?
Yes, there is reprimanding. There is just a verbal warning, written warning, reprimand, severe reprimand, interdiction, and then eventually dismissal.
It's a long process.
Yes,
all that you've said, it's in years.
Yes, it's a long process. That's where the difference is between us
and service and private sector.
And the private sector. Okay. Private sector is...
It's a snap.
Yes, yes, you go. And according to law, you are paid whatever is due to you.
Yeah,
and
3 months and you move.
But here, people demand a hearing, their unions, their this and that. We tend to go a little bit slowly. However, to mitigate that is that, yes, let's train.
Okay. Capacity building.
Yes, capacity building. Let's have contracts.
Yes.
Let's have the client charters. We agree on what you are going to do. And then let's have the managers. One other thing that, yes, management, in some cases, I think, has more or less softened on the question of enforcement.
Yeah.
All we need to do is clear.
Yes.
Everything there. And the laws, I think, are good for now. And we have improved on the processes. The cumbersome programs, let's say like in the pension, those ones have been eliminated.
Yeah.
The payroll, at least now, has been cleaned and so on. But there's something.
There is complacency.
Yes, enforcement. You've done something wrong. You need, therefore, action that is taken is clear.
Yeah.
But somebody somehow doesn't take that action.
Thank you.
You see? So we are there at the moment. So what I was saying, okay.
But is the ministry finding ways on how to deal with that lack, the lack of the will to take charge?
Yes. What we are doing internally, that is, if you are the head of that department, you have failed to take charge, you need resources, withhold. Or you have failed somewhere, let's withhold.
Okay.
Yes.
Until you clear this.
Yes, until you clear. And if you do it persistently, then other measures
will be taken. Nice.
Can push you out, it goes somewhere, do this and that. Then intensify the training as well. And this is going on. And we are trying to persuade the rest of government that at least the training budget, to some extent, should be consolidated under the Ministry of Public Service. To a large extent, you know. At the moment, each agency, each department has its training budget and works out its training needs and then conducts training.
Okay.
You see. However, therefore the public service has no way.
Okay.
Really. But if we say through our inspections and so on, through the work of the Office of the Prime Minister, that yes, we have these core weaknesses. Like let's say effective enforcement is a core weakness. And let's say, as you are quoting the other
yes.
receptionist,
yes.
who seemed not to care.
She was in private, believe you me, Honorable, the attitude she gave me, she was from private sector.
Yes.
Because I was shocked that she's working for government.
Yes.
And indeed, she told me she was on a crossover because they call it district. They said, you guys are in the district.
In the district,
yes. Yes. So she said, I started in the district and here I am.
Now here I am. So now, once we identify those weaknesses, then we can mount some refresher training. We can have a course, and it is paid for at the Civil Service College, and this is across board. Then the other special training programs, requirements for the agencies can be conducted at agency level. Okay. You know, that's why we're saying, okay, part of the requesting, I think we are going to even request government, that part of the training budget should be consolidated.
Oh, for that purpose.
For that purpose.
Okay.
And that way, I think we are going to make improvement. And that's in line with the transformation that we are looking for in public service.
Okay. Honorable, there's always been a notion, I don't know how true it is, that public service does not attract the best brains in the world because people feel they're not going to get worth their expertise vis-a-vis the payment. And I'm wondering, with all this that you're saying, this seems to be a shift. There seems to be a shift that is technological, that is the management is a little bit much more liberalized. So I'm looking at how we going to revise that as well, that we attract the best brains. And if we're going to do so, how are we going to do that?
On the contrary, I think the public service, just like the private sector, attracts the best brains.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's only that, okay, the outcomes are the same, you know, broadly. They are the same, both private and public. But the methods we use are the ones which differ a little bit. And also, the way we compute the outcome in terms of profit
it's different.
is different.
Yes.
For us, when we provide a service, we don't look at it in terms of how many billion shillings.
Yeah,
we're going to
profits
have in
that came
profit.
through.
Yes, no.
You look at the impact.
We look at the impact, the outcome, yes, the general, and takes time, you know, to realize
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But as for the brains, I think it's the same. It's because we recruit from the same pool,
Oh, yeah.
we get people from the same universities.
Oh, yes.
You find very good brains in the public service.
True.
And I think there are more there because for now,
Yes.
for now,
It's because of the shift, I think.
yes, because
there
of
is a
the shift. So it's just a perception, it's just a notion. Now, what we are trying to do is that, yes, we have learned a few lessons from the private sector.
Yep.
Yes. That these fellows, you know, they sit, plan, work out, make a realistic budget.
Yes.
They have goals, and they set themselves targets and so on. And really,
They supervise.
yes, supervise, work on their people to achieve.
Oh, yes.
And they achieve.
Oh, yes.
And when they achieve, then the rewards,
Are given.
they are given. And they are instantaneous, you know. Yeah, you did very well. You are entitled to a bonus. Here it is.
Yes.
Then the promotion is clear.
It's clear.
Oh, you have just been a deputy here. You performed so well, even beyond the expectation. I
You're
think
promoted.
you can now be promoted. You go and run the other branch in Mbale. So we have learned that, yes, it is possible with some stimulus here and there and the right approach, you can have people performing to their maximum and for the best of the organization and to love. So we are borrowing
From this side.
from that side. And I think slowly, I think we are going to get there.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Like I can tell you, there's some service public officers that I relate to, that I talk to. And I think because they came from our pool, they know how to actually handle all these things. And this brings me to, earlier on you said the reason is why attitudes are failing on the ground, especially with regards to service delivery, the attitude they're giving the citizens, it could be because of motivation. Way back we had the Salary Commission. What became of it?
Well, the Salary Commission,
Because this would address the issues they're having with monies and all.
yes, maybe to some extent.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, indulge me.
What would actually address the issue is the availability of the money.
Okay.
That is as a result of the performance of the economy. Yes. Even if we had a commission, it makes good recommendations, it sets up the pay structure and so on. When we cannot really fulfill those commitments, it will not make any...
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But also when we're looking at, well, technically, the commission would require insertion into the constitution.
Yes.
And that would call for some constitutional
Amendments.
review. The process took long.
Yeah.
Yes, of the constitutional amendments took long. So it could not be realized within these last 5 years. What were changed, what were attended to were the crucial issues, you know, in the constitutional review, and that's it. However, we're also thinking, why should we have a full-fledged commission? Just looking at the salaries and grading and so on.
Yeah.
It would be virtually redundant.
Very much so.
Yes, but it would also be a cost because the
To the
commission,
government.
yes, it goes with all kinds of appendages. You know, the terms and so on would have to be
Reviewed.
rich enough to suit a commission. So what Public Service proposed and has given this proposal to Cabinet is let's have a board.
Okay.
Yes. A
board
salaries
is not
review
straining.
board. It is not straining, and it can be constituted frugally by looking at the chairman, their various boards and commissions available.
And the expertise.
And the expertise. And then we make use of other expertise, either from the academia and so on, put them together, and we have just a full-time secretariat, for instance,
Okay.
and then people going round looking at the economy, and looking at the pay that we are getting and comparing it, benchmarking with
The regional.
and the
The
African and so on. And we also see our ability to sustain that kind of salary arrangement and then make proposals to cabinet. That would be more manageable. We made proposals and these have been forwarded to cabinet. So I think
they are yet to come through.
Yes, they are yet to come through.
I really need to commend you on that. Thank you so much, because from where I stand, imagine a doctor working in Uganda with all the expertise. Someone possibly has gone to Kuala Lumpur and has studied this. Maybe he's a cardiologist and he's one particular around the globe in that one particular field. And he's a Ugandan and comes back and says, let me serve my country better. And he's here and he's paid like 1.5 million Ugandan shillings. Yet on an international or continental grade, he would be getting around 10,000 or 150,000 US dollars.
US dollars, yes.
So his motivation to stay is another question.
Yeah.
That comes through. So, Honorable, what are your recommendations for an improved public service that can offer good service to the public and the citizens are proud of them? Ugandans can only want one public service that I'm sure they can never even question. They run to police if something to do with land, to get to police, to get, but how can we have it? All these come through from the other entities and sectors, and I can proudly walk into lands, in transport, in all these entities.
Any sector of the public service. One, we have the human resource, which is really focused and clear.
Vision 40.
Yes. Vision 40, ready to serve, with a conscience as well, and empathy, for the citizen and for the country. So, but it's also qualified.
Oh.
Yes.
It goes through the process.
The process, yes, it's qualified. It's not just having that, but you must have the qualifications that it takes.
Okay.
And so my recommendation is let's have that kind of human resource, which is up to that level, but also ready to learn.
Okay.
Not closed,
Open-minded.
It's open-minded, yes. Yeah. And each time with that quality of first of all, self-analysis. You ask yourself, yes, have I done a good job today?
As an individual.
As an individual, yes. Two, the other one, the recommendation I'd have is let's have structures which are up to the point.
Structures.
Yes, efficient.
Structures.
Yes, structures, which are not cumbersome, which to some extent a little bit flexible, and go along with the changes that may be taking place, either as a result of technology or as a result of new approaches to doing the same thing. However, with the goal of being efficient.
Okay.
Efficient. The other one is to have the other non-human resources.
Okay.
Yes.
Leakages and so on.
Yes. We need, for
furniture.
instance, yes, furniture, computers, whatever, all that. Let's have all those in place. And I think if we do, and we add the issue of motivation and training onto the staff, then we are going to have a very efficient public service, which will be admired, by everybody who ever received the service.
Oh, yes.
But also, it will make sure that the people who are there also feel proud
of working for
the public service.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yes. And then at the end of it, because we're also working out reforming the pension scheme.
Okay.
Yes.
It had issues a few years ago.
Yes, a few years ago. We are reforming it from a non-contributory to a contributory pension scheme, which is going to be very efficient and will provide the necessary security
for the pensioners.
Yes, for the pensioners. Okay. For the civil servant who has spent the entire part of his life serving the country, working. And then at the end, he should be able to rest, not in peace, but in comfort.
Honorable, while you're winding up this conversation, I need to know, what are the opportunities of the youth in your ministry? Because right now there is a lot of this commotion going on. COVID-19 has disrupted every other person, but I still believe there's some opportunities. Now, me, I wrote for my generation.
Yes.
What are the opportunities there? And if they are there, how can we access them? Because now you're digital, you're speaking technology.
Yes, yes,
are they
yes.
on the portal? Are they on the website?
Yes,
or what?
yes, we are. We are on the website. We have a portal. And most of our activities now are really online, including even certain aspects of the various promotional or entry interviews that we conduct. The opportunities are, first of all, the young people now form the majority of the population in the country. And this is, as you know, Uganda is one of the youngest countries.
Very much so. 82% now. It's worrying.
82% is worrying to some extent, but if properly managed,
it can take us better.
Yes, yeah. Now, at our employment, the vacancy fulfilling rate is now average 65%.
Wow.
Yes. There are a few areas who are below that, but average now, many MDAs at 65 level, just not because we want it that way, but because of the sustainability, the pay. We don't have enough money to have 100%. So they still the 35%. And we think we are going to go on
with time.
Yes, with time. And the 35% most of the time I think is going to be for the young people.
Oh, thank you so much.
So the opportunities are still there. Oh, as long as, unfortunately, many young people have been to school.
Oh, yes.
In Uganda.
Fortunately, yes, that's the word.
And whatever few skills they lack, or just a little bit of orientation, that's not too much of a problem.
And polishing?
Yes, it can be done, either on the job or before they actually come into the actual public service. Then we have a number of people retiring.
Oh, yes.
So those who are retiring, certainly the vacancies created will be occupied by the young people.
Okay.
So the opportunities are there.
We need to get interested, we as the young generation.
With the young generation, yes. And we would want the young people to come in.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
That is a great one, hearing it from the Minister of Public Service.
Yes, we would. Why? They're young, strong. They don't have a lot of encumbrances.
Oh, yes.
And when they are given to working, they will actually
They'll
work.
focus on that.
Yes, they'll focus.
Honorable, with all this now, this is my last question. You've said all this, you've shown us the opportunities that are there for the young generation.
Yes.
You've shown us the new strategies that are coming through to plug into the Vision 40. What is the role of us as the citizens to make what you guys agreed upon to come to light?
Well, the role is simple. One is, first of all, to demand.
Okay.
Yes. I want this service, I want this service. Demand.
Visual, I demand it whenever you go.
Yes, demand it. Yes. But also, not to be just demanding and agitating.
There has to be a duty as well.
Yes. You have also to suggest improvements.
Okay.
Yes. You may not be an expert. No. But from the way you look at things and what you think could be done, or maybe you've seen a few things being done elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Say it.
You suggest.
You suggest. And your suggestion will be picked.
Okay.
And subjected to a lot of technical or professional scrutiny. If it holds water and it's good, it will be adopted. So it's a two-way thing.
Okay.
But also support
the system.
The system
Okay.
and the public servant. Yes. By not corrupting him.
Oh, yes.
Trying to make
things to work expeditiously.
Yes, and due moves and so on, and not being unreasonable, not being overcritical, over nothing, because all those sometimes tend to demotivate.
Or the service.
The service.
Oh, yeah.
When the public servant has spent his weekend poring over papers and thinking and trying to make something work under the difficulties,
and
here you come and rubbish everything.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
The
And
attitude will, of course, it's
course,
natural.
he says, but what am I wasting time for? If the fellow I am serving doesn't even appreciate
The little
even the little that I'm doing, then it's not worth it. And the fellow then will turn around and become...
So we have to be considerate while we are demanding for the service and make critical positive suggestions for this system to work.
Yes, to work.
And that said, we can equally plug into the portals you've told us. The youth, their opportunities in public service. Just so you know, the minister said there is 35% of the opportunities in there. We need to get interested. Go and make and study maybe a certificate in public management or public service in one or the other, because these opportunities, on quote, you said they come on qualification.
Yes.
So it's entirely on merit.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for the time you've given us this morning.
Thank
It's
you.
gratifying to have the Honorable. Those who have been a part of this conversation, please be sure to follow this conversation on YouTube and Facebook. It has been such a great morning. We'll take a break and we'll be back shortly. Keep it here.